Hey everyone. I was just making another video for my daughter and for myself and for keeping track of things for growth and growing. And I'm really hard to get on videos because I get like a little bit nervous, but I'm trying to work through it a little better. And my light wasn't working, so I'm trying to use the daylight to get me through this little video that I wanted to do. But it came to mind and I wanted to make note of it and put it into a video and share it. And hopefully it also helps someone else, and it does deal with toxic relationships. But this is something that I found over the years um, had it triggered me, and it caused me to realize that I needed to solve a problem for myself, and it took me some time to learn it. I learned it right away what it was. It was like a light switch went off in my head. Oh, you're doing that wrong. So I was like, oh, no big deal. But I tell you what, it took me about 4 years to master it and be able to feel like I am normal, level-headed. When I say normal, like back to normal, back to my normal self before I was in a toxic relationship or a toxic marriage. So I wrote a quote down because I don't want this video to be too long, but I wrote a quote down. Not it was somewhat a quote, but it was like I can't remember where I got it from because I was listening to it on audio, like something something on audio. I don't remember where, and I'm trying to think, but I can't remember. But at that moment I wrote it down. So I have to read it. It's in my notebook that I wrote it down. So I'm going to be looking down at my pages to read it to you. And then I'm going to go from there and explain what had happened to me in the past, and some things I did to resolve it, and also some examples that happened to me beyond just in the toxic relationship with my ex-husband, but in other relationships that I saw happening similar patterns. So that's another thing, talking about patterns. But anyway, let me continue with this quote, which leads to many different things. So if you ever heard of like a trauma response, and people with trauma, they usually respond in a sorry, fight, flight, or freeze modes. I'm going to be reviewing the fight mode. So the quote goes like this. It says, "To be angry is a feeling, and angry people take their feelings too seriously and exaggerate the hurt or the insult that has been done to them. And they are so sensitive to slight that they take things so personally. They believe their outbursts signify power, and the truth is actually quite opposite. Petulance does not signify power. It is a sign of helplessness." And it goes on to say, "If a person explodes with anger at you and it seems out of proportion to what you did to them, this cause is much larger, goes way back in time, and includes all kinds of past hurt. Honestly, it's not worth trying to understand. Instead, the outbursts are created to control the other person and punish them because they don't understand the person who is angry," if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense, but I'm just reading it from what I wrote. So in order to solve that, you would have to learn to control your emotional responses and not, if you call it, playing into their trap, I guess, if you want to say. Like, I'll give some examples in just a moment. Let me finish what it says. And also, my therapist explained to me that emotion, or I'm sorry, not, yeah, emotions, I guess, or your feelings, an emotional feeling that you feel like inside and you feel like yourself boiling or getting heated up and like you're getting angry or something. Emotional responses or emotions, they only last 90 seconds. So if you could breathe through those 90 seconds, it's like it goes away just as fast as it came. And that was like magic for me. And I just learned that like last week or 2 weeks ago in one of my sessions. But regardless of that, we're going to circle back to the very beginning of the quote of what I said. And say, for instance, somebody is angry and they're yelling at you, and you feel like you didn't hurt their feelings, or you didn't disrespect them, or you didn't whatever, you were just stating maybe your side of the case or whatever, then to do that, you would have to do it in a more sensible, instead of a reaction. So it's hard to explain, but this is what I learned. So we're going to put the book down for a minute and explain it this way. So the way that, as an example, my ex-husband, and this is also for you, honey, my daughter. So your father would trigger, like, or no, would trigger, for instance, me. We'll just say my ex-husband used to trigger me. Unknowingly, he used to trigger me, and I unknowingly, like, I didn't know how to respond, because over so many years, which was like 13 years, I guess towards the middle part of the 13 years, like 7 or 8 years, I always felt like I was on the defensive side all the time. And even toward, through the whole thing, but it was really big in the middle-ish to end-ish. I think towards the end of the relationship, I just gave up and I was like, yeah, whatever. I just kind of, I had no more feelings, if that makes sense. I was like lifeless. I was numb. I was not able to feel. And I don't know if I'm confusing this whole situation, but to bring it back to my ex-husband had issues, which I know now, I didn't know then. His issues throughout his wherever past hurts, wherever they came from, whether it be childhood or through relationships or through family or through whatever, through upbringing, through whatever it came from. Sorry, I talk a lot with my hands, but wherever it came from, he would project those hurts onto me if there were ever any kind of issues to arise. So, say for instance, he would get mad at me for, I don't know, whatever. Who knows? I didn't buy him the right food or something. He would just burst out this craziness or whatnot. And I would defend myself. So, of course, I was reacting to his negative actions at me. And I would be like, well, I bought you, if you tell me to buy you stuffed shells. I think I came home that night with Italian, like shells, like stuffed shells, like that you bake in the oven, macaroni, kind of thing. Well, he took the bag, the stuffed shells that I bought him, because he said stuffed shells. He took them out of the grocery bag and he whipped them at my face. And I was like he threw them at me. And I was like, what the hell? Like, where did that come from? And he said, this is not what I asked for. And he, wah, 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 wah. And he was mad. You never fucking get it right. And da, da, da. And I was just like, holy cow, man. Like, I got you stuffed shells. That's what you asked for. Anyway, long story short, he wanted stuffed clams. Clam clams, you know, like clamshells with like the breading in it with clam. It's called clams. I don't know. Like stuffed clams on the half shell. If he would have said that to me, he would have gotten the right product back at home at the from the grocery store. But anyway, long story short, he would go at me so hard, and I would, you know, sometimes I would cry, sometimes I would, you know, kind of like defend myself and be like, yell back at him or like just defend myself. But as I defended myself, it sounded like I was angry too, yelling back at him, like, why are you yelling at me, kind of thing. Some, and I know I said I was going to talk about the fight part of this, but sometimes it was like I would freeze up. Like it all depended on what it was he was doing to me. So, oh my gosh, I don't want to make this video so long. However, my point being is, it took me a minute to figure out from when I first got out of the whole situation and went to therapy, what it was that I was doing incorrectly and how to correct it. And all she told me was, you, like, I don't even know how to explain. So she was explaining something to me about codependent. So basically it was like a light switch went off in my head. And the whole codependent thing, we could discuss that in another video because I don't want to confuse the whole video I'm doing now. So in short, codependent is you're a giving person and you want to fix everything around you in order to make yourself feel better. But in turn, you fixing everything around you actually makes you not have time for yourself and it depletes you. Therefore, you have no energy, no strength, your mind is not clear, you're foggy minded, your clarity is not clear, and you react more or less. So in that whole scenario, I would react to my ex-husband's doings of whatever it was he did to me, and it was like constant nonsense all the time. So that brings me to, I have to look back at my books. I have a quote here, and it says, you must learn to control your emotional responses. Emotional feelings only last 90 seconds, which is what I explained to you. And if you react to if you react with an outburst to their negative jargon coming at you, you're only adding fuel to the fire, which will cause that other person, we'll say my ex-husband, to make them more angry and react even more so. And anyway, and then it's just like it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and then it turns into physical abuse. So anyway, not to go there, but to stay on this same page again, that's the fight mentality. And I'm not saying it as when I say mentality, as you're aware of it, you're not aware of it. So I'm trying to make you aware of it, that it's something that is unconscious, that your body, it's like, you know, what do they say, growing up in like I'm bad with history, oh my gosh, but back in the days when there was like cavemen type of deal. So fight, flight, or freeze, you know, our bodies are meant to do that because back in caveman days, our bodies, God, if you saw like a tiger coming at you or something, you're either going to have three choices. You're either going to fight it, you're going to run from it, or you're going to freeze and stand like a statue. And I don't know what'll happen, but I'm glad I didn't live then. But anyway, those are the three things that is automatically built into the DNA of a human being. So basically, you know, we don't need to fight anymore as we're evolved, if that really makes sense. But it's just in our nature to do it because you're defending yourself. But there's no need to defend yourself because what's to defend yourself? Especially like you went to the grocery store, for my case, and I bought stuffed shells, which was what I was supposed to buy, according to the words I was told. So, point being is, it took me many years to figure this out, how to do it. And it took a lot of strength and courage and meditation and calmness. And I really did bring myself back to normal and back to calm, because before I met my ex-husband, I'm not going to say, I did have two other relationships and they weren't the greatest, but they weren't bad. But, you know, I think I was still, I think I had one bad relationship, and I think it just rolled into another bad relationship and rolled into another bad relationship. So I think it just got worse the more I went to relationship. But that being said, I thought that was supposed to be who, like, it's so weird. It's just, gosh, life is so confusing, because you think with my upbringing, my parents are married 60 something years together and all that stuff. I thought that I'm supposed to be this wonderful wife, and this woman that takes care of it all and, loves everything and takes care of everything and da, da, da. Anyway, I just went off on a tangent. Point being is, I had to learn how to gain myself and my identity back, because it was so far gone. I had no clue who I was once I walked away from that toxic relationship with my ex-husband. And that was 5 years ago. And now, sitting here and connecting the dots, only the last 5 years, to the good of what I've done for myself and my daughter, you, Adriana, my baby. I was able to connect the dots and figure out, oh, this worked, this didn't work. So here's some examples. 2 years ago, I met a couple of girlfriends, very nice friend group, everything, blah, blah, blah. And we happened to all get into like this big debacle and this big argument, blah, blah, blah. And we didn't talk for a bit. And then at one point in time, there was like a big fight between myself and two other girls. And these two other girls, now it's so weird. I have to explain it like this. This was a moment where I had just come out of my ex-husband, like the marriage and stuff like that. And I was still kind of like, felt like I don't know, like I didn't have like solid ground under my feet. Like I was still trying to figure out who I was and all that stuff. So I wound up getting in this friend group and all that stuff and whatever. And there wound up being a big argument and a big fight. Like it wound up almost breaking out into like a fist fight type of deal. And I remember learning that I was practicing my breath, my breathing, from having been hurt so badly from my ex-husband and not knowing how to not react and how to breathe through something of emotion or feeling triggered and things of that nature. And so I remember the two girls, they were like, we're gonna kick your ass and all this stuff. And I was like, listen, I said to them like this, I said, I'm prepared to be beaten, brutally beaten and down on the ground and everything. I said, however, I'm going to fight till my death. So you better be prepared as well. I said, I will not, you're not going to take me down like this. And I remember they were raging at me, like big time raging. And all I was doing was it was like I had to control my mind. It was so weird. It was like I had to like stare at them. I was looking at them, watching them, and making sure I knew my surroundings. But at the same time, inside my head, I was talking to myself. Like my mouth wasn't moving or anything, but in my mind, I was like, okay, all right, so make believe I'm not talking right now. But in my mind, my thought was, okay, like I couldn't close my eyes. So I couldn't like meditate and close my eyes. So I was actually meditating with my eyes open. And I said, okay, girl, you're going to get through this. You're going to breathe. And I was like, I wasn't like breathing out loud where they can see what I was doing, but I was like talking myself through it. I was like, you're going to breathe. They might come out. They might come after you. They might not. But you breathing and staying calm will kind of like lower the chances of getting into like a whole big tobacco, or whatever you call it, or a whole big like fight and stuff. So I was like talking myself through it and all that stuff. And I was like, okay. And then the one was like, rah, and somebody was holding her back. And then the other one came, I'll never forget this. And we laugh about it now because we're friends. But the other one came flying through the one room, through the hallway, jumped on the bed, and she was coming down at me like this, like a Superman fist. And then somebody grabbed her. And then at some point in time, they were all outside, and somebody came to me and said, she wants to talk to you. And I went outside to talk to her, and she was just raging at me. And I just remember standing there, and I was just like talking myself through it. And I was like, listen, and here I go in my head again. I was like, if it's a fight, you're prepared to fight. You're prepared to just like throw some punches or do what you got to do and fight back. However, in my head, I mean, I was sitting there saying, okay, we're going to take this to a calmer level. And I did. And I took it to such a calmer level that we actually stood there talking with each other. But as I was taking it back to a calmer level to calm myself down, in the midst of talking to myself and saying to myself, I need to control my reaction to this, I also was saying, my friend's hurt is not coming from something she's angry at me for. She's actually hurt from deep within of something in her past, but she's taking it out on me. So I had to remind myself of that. And I was like, it makes sense. Like somebody feels hurt or whatever, or angry and whatnot, and it comes from past hurts. I get it. But I tell you what, it took a long time to get through it. In 5 years, it doesn't happen overnight. So I encourage those that are trying their hardest to break free from toxicity. And I'm telling you, this is like number one, the first thing I learned, because I learned my ex-husband triggered me, and he knew it. He knew exactly what he was doing and how to do it. And it was like the weirdest thing, because when I got out of it all and I would go to therapy, I was like, it was like he knew it. Like he knew how to control me. He knew how to put me in a certain position where I just like felt defensive. And I was just like, wow, kind of thing. Like I had to like defend myself kind of thing. Now I don't. Now I don't even waste my energy like that, because it's not worth it. And it's not worth my stress. It's not worth my anger. So here's another example. And this is why I had this conversation with my therapist last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, because I had a situation with my daughter. And yes, you, Adriana, and 15 years old. And honey, you're going to remember this when you watch this video. But 15 years old, typical teenage rebellion type of age. Although she's not very rebellious, she's more curious and trying to find herself and her own way and who she is. And I give her that. I allow her that. However, there's moments in time where me being a mom and her being a teenage kid, totally ticks me off. And there was one moment where she said something, I don't remember what it was, or did something or said something back, or didn't get, I don't know. I don't remember. We were trying to go through like her lying. Like she picked up that whole lying thing from her father. Um, it was just torture. Like all the time I was like, you're lying, you're lying. We've got to correct this kind of thing. And the point being is, when she got me angry, I told my therapist, I said, I actually felt it was like a pot of water, a pot of water boiling, and it was like bubbling and bubbling and bubbling. I said, I felt myself get so hot and heated and like ready to like scream at her. And at that moment, I remember she was sitting there and she was playing, she had music playing, and a song came on that I really liked. And I remember, and she wasn't facing me, she was looking the other direction. And I was so heated and I was like ready to like just say, "Bleh," like whatever. I was so mad. And I actually ran over to her and I hugged her. And then I took her hand and I pulled her towards me and I started dancing with her in the living room. And I was spinning her around and then dipping her back and picking her up. And she was laughing the whole time and I was laughing. And after that, I was like, I don't even remember why I was mad. It was the weirdest thing ever. So it goes to show you that it takes a lot of patience and a lot of control to take down the notches of like reactivity, for instance, or feelings, to control yourself, because you can't, as I learned, control anything on the outside. So being that codependent, as I mentioned earlier, you can't control the people that are around you to make yourself feel better. You actually have to you have to control yourself, and you have to make yourself feel good and yourself be wholesome and energized and aware and everything in order to make everyone else's lives happy. So that was my little thing I wanted to say today. However, let me open up my book one more time, because I wrote down here, oh yes, the reactive responses only add fuel to the fire. So I can have some more videos. I'll have to do like breathing or breath work or meditation and things you can do in that nature, what you do. It's hard. Everybody does it differently. For me, it's like, sometimes I'll light candles around and I'll just sit. For me, it's like peace. So peace is like, I would like to be in quiet and no noise around, and just like meditate, or I'll take a walk in nature and just like breathe the fresh air, or I'll just step away from my emotions for that moment and maybe like 5-10 minutes, and then come back and just revisit it and be like, okay, this scenario happened, this is how I felt, why did I feel this way, and what can I do to resolve it? So those are the steps and the process. So when I say meditate, I'm not actually saying like that kind of thing. You can do that if you're used to doing that. It all depends on how you do it for yourself. But you can look things up on YouTube and, figure out meditation and things like that, or words, not words of affirmation. Yeah, I think that's what it is. The affirmations where people like, kind of like, which I don't really do, but I guess there's some videos out there that you like kind of connect with and you chant, like, not chant, oh God, that sounds terrible. You kind of like listen to the meditation or the person giving the meditation, and they kind of just put positive words into your mind and to your thoughts as you lay there and you listen to this meditation. And there's also some like music meditations that do like calming music. Sometimes I like that too. I also like reading. So reading in quiet is sort of like my meditation also. looking down at some other notes here. So next video, if I do another video in order or whatever comes to my mind, I'm trying to make videos like at least twice a week. So I know I kind of jump off the path. Like I haven't done a video in probably like 2.5, 3 weeks now. I just kind of get nervous in front of the camera. But I think, and because I was raised to be a perfectionist, and that also hinders you. So I'm coming along. I'm getting there, and I want to say that I'm going to take my time, get my videos, but I'm trying to now be more conscious. I actually wrote myself a schedule, which is something I never did before. So I would like to start doing videos on like Mondays and Saturdays and work them into my schedule all the time. Unfortunately, today's not a Saturday because yesterday I was super duper busy. It was my girlfriend's birthday and wanted to take her and the kids out for lunch. And then I had like a couple of things going on, and then I had chores to do and, you know, the typical mommy stuff. So today I just decided to do the video, and before it gets too dark and I lose my lighting, I will just say the next time, unless anyone has any kind of like questions on how to grow from a toxic relationship, or how to, what things that I might be able to give besides what videos I'm going to make for my, you know, like a little journal, like a audio journal type of deal. There's also, because you know what, I say audio journal because in reality, when I write, I can't write every single detail. But when I'm starting to say it and I'm able to record it, sometimes I could go quicker and just say the detail and then it's noted. So sometimes if I'm writing it, I'll think hard, and I'll be like, oh God, that takes, you know, it just takes a lot of time to write and put those details together. Next time, if I do a video, I was discussing the fight, flight, or freeze mode, I guess. I don't know what you call it. The fight, flight, or freeze mode for a trauma response. Yes, that's what I was saying. And then I want to talk about some of the things that would cause someone to be abusive, if that makes sense. Like, and I know that might be sounding like it's coming off the wrong way, but like if somebody had trauma in their past, like in their childhood, I want to give the reasons what could have caused that. And there's 3 types of things. And before I do my next video, if anyone wants to look it up, there's a thing called you have, because I actually had one of them and it was weird. It's like you have like I can't think at the moment off the top of my head. There's one called like an avoidant attachment. There's one called an anxious attachment, and there's one called secure attachment. And then there's another one that's like a combination of the two. But I'll just give a diagram with my hands for now. So a secure attachment are 2 people and this is any relationship, not just romantic relationship. This could be parent child, sibling, husband wife, girlfriend boyfriend, or any other relationships that are out there in the world. I can't think right now. So secure relationship is like this. An avoidant attachment and an anxious attachment goes like this. The anxious attachment person is afraid to be abandoned, so they run closer to the person who's avoidant, because the avoidant attachment disappears, and like not disappears but like pulls back. And in turn, sometimes the anxious attachment person like gets tired of always going to the avoidant person, and they're always pulling back and away. So the anxious attachment person pulls back the other direction. And then the avoidant attachment person is like, what the heck? Like, hello, what about me, kind of thing. And then they start going and becoming the anxious attachment. And this person, the avoidant attachment person, becomes the anxious attachment. Anyway, it's very intricate. Basically, when they say opposites attract, unfortunately, an anxious person, and an avoidant person are very opposite, and they do attract, but they attract in the wrong ways. They attract in very high toxicity. So, next video, if I do make a next video on that subject, I will in time, but making a video on that subject, I will explain more in detail about that attachment, all those attachment dynamics. In the meantime, hope what I did explain has been helpful. And for you too, honey, she's in the next room right now. That's why I keep looking that way. But for my daughter Adriana, I hope this is helpful for you. I know if I look back on the videos, it'll be helpful for me in my growth, and only looking to level up and get better and better and better. But I have so much more to talk about. I could talk to you about financial growth and just, health growth, food, diet, just healthy stuff, financial stuff. Oh my gosh, like emotional health and just all kinds of stuff. So I'm very excited because I learned so much in 5 years, and I am putting all my energy and efforts into my daughter and helping her grow, because she had also lost herself, and we went through some rough moments, but she's really doing good in the last 6 months. I'm very proud of her, and I'm proud of where she's going and how she's, getting through everything. And it's tough nowadays. It's a tough in this crazy world we live in. Anyway, have a great night. God bless. Have a beautiful evening, and I'll talk to you on the next video. Bye.